Welcome back to another episode of The Yard. I'm your host, Darryl Scotti, here at Big Yard Nation. Today we have with us Joey Gutos. You may remember Joey from Season 2, an indie artist from Tempe, Arizona, known for his soulful voice and infectious guitar hooks. Drawing comparisons to Harry Styles, Jason Mraz, and Elton John, Joey is on the move with deep roots in Motown psychedelic rock and folk blues. Joey has built a loyal fan base through 13 years of live performances and numerous collaborations. His debut EP, Coming Home, featuring the single Sand to Snow, was released on Earth Day in 2023 to a sold-out crowd in Phoenix. Passionate about Arizona culture and natural habitats, Joey continues to support fellow artists and organizations in his community. It's a pleasure to get started with Joey, my good friend, on the show. Let's get rolling. My man, Joey.
Darryl.
Man, good to see you again, man.
You as well.
Thanks
always.
for coming into the yard with us again. I'm so excited, man. You've been busy, man.
Just trying to be, man.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the creativity rolling and, getting out of the comfort zone a little bit. That's always good for it all. Keeps me.
You're a man on the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, same to you, man.
That's cool. Well, thank you,
Love seeing everything you guys are doing.
I'm an old man on a mission.
And you're killing it.
This season we're talking about film and TV, and we'll get into a little bit of that. I know that you and I have talked about that. That's a direction that I'm interested in. And but with you this season, we've got some notable songwriters coming in. But as one of those, you're the youngest guy that we've got in the yard, and I'm intrigued by that because I want to take our audience into a bit of an insight on when did you know that this is what you wanted to do? How do you get ready for it? How do you prepare? How do you maintain that creative flow and your health and all of the things that you're interested in life? So let's start with when did you know? When did you know that this was how you wanted to spend your life? I mean, you're a smart guy. You got a lot of talent. You could probably do whatever you wanted to do. And but this is the journey you've decided to take.
Yeah. Well, I started writing songs like as a little kid, and my dad had gotten, this was like emerging technology at the time, a little handheld tape recorder, and I would just use that and like make up melodies and like little song lyrics and make guitar melodies with my just my voice. And this was probably in like the second grade. I was doing stuff like that, and not that I knew like, oh, in the second grade this is going to be my career. Even back then, I felt like it was a space I could escape to and somehow come back out of feeling better about myself and about the world around me. And so in a weird way, I feel like ever since then, I've just been addicted to it and I can't stop doing it. So I don't know if there was at any point in time, maybe I said, oh yeah, this is what I could do as a career. But I feel like ever since I started doing it, I knew deep down I could always keep doing it. So, as a songwriter, I've buckled down and said, okay, I need to get better at this all the time. But even before, like I said, I knew that this was what I was going to do. I always wanted to do it.
Did you grow up with it? Was your mom and dad, were there, we talked about that a little bit before, but were there some influences as a young boy growing up?
Yeah. So
getting ready to go to school for the day?
Yeah. My dad, he's a poet and he's an amazing writer. And he always inspired me, like even from the birthday and Christmas cards he would write me, they'd always be these like wonderfully poetic things, and I still have all of them. I always kept all of them.
That's beautiful, man.
And so he's inspired me all along the way. And my mom's just love for music and the excitement that she brings whenever we have music on, and just the simple fact that she always let me choose what we listened to in the car and she's the radio stations, and she'd put up with.
So you were the family DJ.
Totally. But I grew up listening to their stuff too, so they DJ'd my entrance into the world, and then I kind of started taking it from there. But it's funny because by this point now, my favorite bands and artists are the ones that they, were playing when I was still in the womb, let alone growing up and coming up through the ranks.
I can relate to that. I think a lot of the influence that I've had with the different music that I've grown to love, that has influenced my songwriting career, and some of the things that I'm active with today, I think was from early years. My mom had an incredible taste for music, and that changed as I was growing older, from early artists, 50s and 60s, and then into the 70s and 80s, and pop artists. My father was an opera lover and knew all those guys, and he had a relationship with guys like Sinatra and some of the guys in New York when he was a cabaret owner.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn,
yeah.
That's awesome.
And tells me stories. Jerry Vale was a good friend of his, and worked with him and sang for him. So it was the Italian guys out of New York in that magical era, But you're right, it does really take an effect. You mentioned as you buckled down, I like that. And I've been working with you for a while. I came to you and I said, listen, I want you to be part of what we're doing here at Big Yard Nation. And then you and I started collaborating and working, and you would run ideas by me, and I would, make suggestions. And I saw you take those real serious, man, and I appreciate that, because I like to mentor young people. You seem to value that, So I've watched you work, and I've noticed that you have a discipline to it, and you're doing all the right stuff, man. I see you getting busy and following some of that stuff. You're doing a lot of collaboration. How do you go about keeping that going and keeping that, with your vision and what you're thinking about doing?
Yeah. Well, I do just want to say appreciate the fact that you're willing to bounce ideas off of me and to give me, I don't know if I would say motivation, but just some insight and encouragement along the way. So I wanted to point that out.
You're welcome.
I've always been driven artistically to create because, like I said, I always come out the other side feeling better about myself. So that's the first thing that drives me. But I just want to be the best that I can possibly be, and I don't know really how else to put it. You said, I can't remember if it was last night at dinner or what situation you said, but you're like, I've always had a tough time with mediocrity. I
never learned how to do mediocre.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way, man, especially when you fail at different points and you feel what that's like, and it's like, I don't want to do that again. I want to be as prepared as I possibly can. And for a long time, when I first had bands and was in the industry, it was all love for the craft, and it was all so new. I didn't have any direction going into it. I had help on the craft, and playing guitar. I had an amazing guitar teacher for a few years, sure. And his name's Bob Hermes, an awesome vocal coach, Patrick Cunningham. But aside from that, there wasn't anybody to be like, hey, this is how you form a band, this is how you play shows, this is how you write songs, just kind of trial and error with, friends and close collaborators. And then over time, you start to see movement and some success and people coming out to shows, and sometimes you get distracted. And there was a period of time where I was a little bit more motivated by being seen versus revealing a vulnerable part of myself through song. And then I kind of had to come back to it, and that's what I've really been focused on the last 4 or 5 years, is dropping the ego and really taking a deep dive within and trying to express myself as openly and authentically as possible. And the only way I can do that is by keeping sword sharp and working on my guitar skills and my voice and my poetry and my songwriting.
Yeah, and it shows.
Yeah.
I've seen your performances. I get them. I believe them. I think your audience relates to it too. You know, you get right at it. You know, and you seem comfortable up there, man. You just seem like you're in your habitat, you know, and
it's my happy place.
Yeah, happy place, man. I like that. You know, there really are no school books about this. Yeah, we could take lessons and guitar lessons, voice lessons. We can study, you know, artists that we're inspired by and look at building our craft as songwriters and whatnot. I've often said that I wear everything I write on my sleeve. You know, I'm a product of everything I've ever enjoyed or listened to. So do you use any of that as you sit down and you're writing? Tell us how you sit down and get into your creative space and start writing. Is it a concept? Is it an idea? Is it an inspiration? You talked about meeting this lady on when you were out in LA a couple of months ago, and you were just on a beach and you walked up to her and that's a cool story, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my daily process, as much as I can control it, is I try to wake up nice and early, go right into either a journal, you know, consider it a journal, but it could be a poem, a story, a song. I just write for 10 minutes straight, and then I'll pick up the guitar, play guitar for 10 minutes straight, and I'll literally set a timer. And then if either of those two things are really clicking, then I'll just keep going with it, and I'll take it as far as it can go. You know, I'll write out whatever I can. Sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's just a chorus or a fun idea. You never know. And that's the amazing part about it. It's, you know, the unknown. It can be kind of scary sometimes, but you just got to force yourself to do it, you know?
Yeah.
But that particular morning, I was out in Oceanside. I was playing a gig in Escondido, but staying in Oceanside, right on the beach, friend's place. Went down to the beach, started writing, did my thing, and I kind of looked around, and there was this woman doing van life. You know, you could tell she had a van. It was all converted and had a bed in there.
So older woman.
She was probably like 50s, you know, young 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had a vibe. She like had her dog with her, and people were coming up and talking to her as they were passing. At first, there's, you know, a few people there, and I thought they were her friends and maybe they were with her. But then I realized that she was just like attracting all these people because she just, you know, had that energy. People wanted to come up and talk to her. And so I was just kind of watching them a little bit, and then I started writing this song as if it was from her perspective. About it was a complete fictional narrative, you know, but I ended up finishing the song, and as I was walking back, I was like, you know what, I should just go introduce myself. And I didn't want to be weird and be like, I've been watching you, you know, writing a song about you.
I've been watching you.
But we just, you know, started a conversation. I've always been interested in doing van life, you know, or some form of it.
Yeah.
And I told her, like, look, you know, I hope this isn't weird for you, but I was just sitting over there, and it seems like you have such a cool life over here, and I wrote a song. I was wondering if I could play it for you. And so she's like, of course. Wow. Sat down, played it for her, and she's like, holy shit, like that is like so kind of weirdly accurate, you know, about like my motivation into doing this, why I do it, and how it all plays out.
So you were just observing her. You got an inspiration, and as a songwriter, we are observers, and you went and shared it with her.
Yep. And then the really weird part was, I told her about the show I was playing that night in Escondido, and she's like, I think she was teaching a roller skating class or something cool like that over on the boardwalk. She's like, I wish I could go.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, yeah, I'm sure we'll catch each other again sometime, exchange Instagrams, whatever. But then at the show, after, and I ended up playing that song, you know, it might have sounded like crap since I just wrote it, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And so after, you know, I played the song, I kind of just gave a brief synopsis of how it came about. Show's over, I get off stage, go and grab a drink at the bar, and a guy comes up to me, he's like, hey man, I'm friends with the girl that you wrote that song about, and she told me about you today and about you playing a show. And he just happened to show up and be at that show. He didn't come out to see me.
So it was at the show
it was at
that
the
he
show.
came up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, he watched me sing the song that I wrote for her.
So she told him.
She told him, but there wasn't any like, you know, she told him and he's like, oh, I'm going to look this guy up and go and see the show. It just happened to be that he was already planning on going to that show.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so
Joey Gutos.
Yeah, weird cosmic shit happens when, I don't know, you just go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm a surfer from time to time when I go out there, and I always try and keep that mindset. If there's waves out there, don't assume they're always going to be out there. Get your ass out and go catch one.
And try to catch one.
Yeah. So I don't know, the opportunity struck and ended up just being a cool.
Caught the wave, man.
Yeah, caught the wave.
Yeah, that's a great story, man.
Yeah.
I love that story. You get ready, you prepare yourself, you go about what you want to do, and how do you then maintain that and keep it going? You know, I see you working hard, man. And so for young people out here that are watching today, they get frustrated, you know, and it's such a different change business, man. And like you were saying, there's really no school books, you know, you try to gleam on to, you know, other people and watch them. You know, I interviewed Pat Carney one time and he said, we didn't know what we were doing, but I knew what Devo did. And so we just followed what Devo did, you know, and it kind of worked for them.
Yeah.
But Pat with the Black Keys, I was mentioning for those that didn't catch that, but had great success, right?
Yeah.
And just following what some guys before him did. They're all from the same town. Listen, man, you've got this thing going. How are you planning on keeping that going in the you know, the challenges of this business and how things are today? Have you got a plan, or are you just taking it a day at a time?
A little bit of both. I was really obsessed with having a plan for a long time, and I don't know, after a while I just felt like my creativity was suffering because I was so obsessed with how I was going to make it, you know, quote unquote.
Kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, and you know, there's just such a huge industry, and everybody's telling you to do one thing or another, and you could get a million different perspectives on how to accomplish the same exact thing. And I've tried, you know, plenty of them, but right now I'm most focused on trying to be the best artist that I possibly can be, because I feel like throughout my career, when I focused on that, that's when the most opportunities have shown themselves, you know, because you're going to end up in the right places showing the best possible version of yourself and your artistry, and people are going to notice and want to work with you or bring you into other things, kind of like, you know, how we're sitting here right now, you know. It wasn't like I was trying to I won't even like give an example, but I would say planning wise, I just try to have a good daily regimen and get to work, because there's going to be days when you don't want to be creative. As fun as it is and amazing as it is, sometimes you're just like, I don't know, screw it.
Comes and it goes.
Yeah, but if you kind of have a way to make yourself sit down and go for it, you can at least come up with something that's cool. And if nothing else, it's, again, just sharpening the sword. Yeah. Something cool is going to come along tomorrow.
You know, I read that Dolly Parton, when she was in her heyday and building and growing and successful already, with a great catalog, she said, I try to write a song a day.
Yeah.
It was her discipline. She just tried to write a song a day. Mm-hmm. You know, I see you doing that, and I see that, you know, you keep it in perspective. You know, an artist doesn't, you know, a lot of artists want to be like this guy and that guy, but that guy and this guy is already this guy and that guy. They've already done that. Mm-hmm. You know, a true artist wants to be who they are. They want to be true to that. They want to develop that and then share that. And I see Joey Gutos doing that.
Well, and you can still, I mean, everybody's a bit of a combination of their heroes and influences and people
Sure.
that they want to emulate. But yeah, at the end of the day, you don't want to try and live their life. You know, you want to try and pick up things that you love that they do, and then see what you can do with that. But yeah, I totally agree. I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Well, I think it's important for an artist to know their identity and to feel good about it, because it's going to evolve, it's going to change. The artist is going to grow. I mean, we see artists that, their songwriting evolves and they've come up with a project or they've got a concept or whatnot. And I see that in some of your songwriting. In fact, you're going to play a song for us today. And why don't you pick up your guitar and share with us a little bit? Have you got something ready for it? Or
Yeah.
you thought about this? I know we put our guitars here and...
Well, I wasn't sure what I was going to do until just a little bit ago when I went to tune my guitar. And,
Okay.
This tuner here was a gift from a buddy of mine. His name's Mike Maines, and I opened up for his band back in April, I think. He was touring through Phoenix.
Yeah.
And just ended up hitting it off after the show.
I remember you telling me about him.
Yeah, and so went out to Nashville about 3 or 4 weeks ago and met up with him at his beautiful home studio and wrote a song. And while we were writing it, I had a different tuner. It was a Snark, and we were literally just playing. I didn't like bump it against anything, and all of a sudden, like the whole head of it just fell off. It just broke. And I had a show that night, and he's like, "Well, just keep this one, man." So that's what made me think of this song. Yeah, so this is a co-write, working title, The In-Between.
Well, let's get a gift from Joey Gutos. And thank you, Mike Main, for the tuner.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for the tuner and the tune. It's hard to count the good things and they keep disappearing. It's hard to find the magic in misery. Staring up at the ceiling with a head full of demons. It's midnight again, I crave the company. Daylight leaks through the window. You ask me where I've been, and I dance around the kitchen. I can't look in your eyes. If you could read my mind, you'd see a broken constellation. If you could read my mind, you'd see stars in all directions. We light the path from where I've been to where I wanna be. If you could read my mind, you'd see stuck in the in-between. Remember when we were younger, all we needed was summer, vanilla Coke and movies on a Friday night, swinging for the fences, so wild and reckless. All that we had was the rest of our lives. Midnight leaks through the window. You ask me where I've been, but I dance around the subject, but can't let you in. If you could read my mind, you'd see a broken constellation. If you could read my mind, you'd see stars in all directions. They light the path from where I've been to where I wanna be. If you could read my mind, you'd see I'm stuck in the in-between. I imagination. You could read my mind. You'd see stars in all directions. Like the path from where I've been to where I wanna be. If you could read my mind, you'd see. If you could read my mind, you'd see. If you could read my mind, you'd see. Stuck in between.
Buddy. Man, Joey Gutos. You should see everybody here in the studio, man. Everybody's bopping along. It's like mesmerized, man. Love the bridge, man. I mean, you took that to just a place of feel, man. You know, you didn't need to say a lot of words, man. You just, you know, you already had said it. You got into that bridge. I love the way you crafted it and then come out of it. You kind of broke a couple rules and you got away with it in terms of really making a great piece of music here, man.
Thank you.
I really dig it. You know, I've heard a little bit of that demo you sent me, and I listened to a little bit of it, and I so loved hearing you play it live with us today. Joey Gutos, I hope you enjoyed that. Listen, man, if you had one song or an artist that you could only listen to the rest of your life, your playlist was cut off, you didn't have your Spotify, you didn't have, you know, it was all gone, you lost it in the cloud.
Lost my Spotify stock.
Exactly. And now all of a sudden, you know, all you can get, and you have one choice. A genie comes up to you and says, okay, I'm gonna grant you one. Okay, I'll give you one. One
artist or song?
If a song puts you on the spot, give me an artist. Maybe that'll inspire a song. But let us get into your mind what music would be like for you if only one song or one artist.
Well, I'd probably start at the Beatles.
Beatles?
Yeah.
Even before your time. I mean, I watched the Beatles in '64, dude.
Oh man.
Inspired my life, changed my life, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would love to be around during that time, man. But I would say the Beatles just because of how wide of a net they cast, you know. And if I had to narrow it down to one song, I don't know, man. The song is so hard because there's just so many different moods and vibes that they accomplished. So I guess it really comes down to what, like, me as a person, like my personality, like what a song would capture there. And I'm almost tempted to say A Day in the Life.
Wow.
But that's more of kind of just a weird song. I'd also want to rock out sometimes to Revolution, or, you know,
so definitely an artist.
Night. Yeah, definitely artist.
You've got a very generous genie.
Yes. Okay. If we can take an artist, it's the Beatles.
That's interesting. You know, I was recently asked by Flex magazine to, but the interview that they wanted wasn't really about what we're doing with Big Yard or the new record or the old record, and Flex has asked me to do a couple things before in the past, but this one was 5 songs that you love, and I think number 2 on the list was it was in the McCartney-Lennon catalog, but it was written by Paul, and it was The Long and Winding Road, and I just loved the lyric on that. He wrote it at a time of sadness in his life, but yet it's got a very, you know, tender, passionate kind of thread going through it, and I love that song, man. So I think I'm with you with the Beatles.
Yeah.
Electric Light Orchestra, if I had to pick one from.
Really?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Jeff Lynne, to me, is a great writer and producer, and just writes really, you know, well. Yeah, man. So, you know, you've been here in the studio with us for a couple days, and it's so great to have you here again, Joey.
It's been an honor, honestly, meeting everybody.
I see you doing so much with your life and your career. How can we stay in touch with you? JoeyGutos.com, right?
Yes, yeah. Try to keep the
Gutos, JoeyGutos.com. Gutos.com.
Oh, yeah.
How about your socials?
Same thing, you know, I think Joey_Gutos, Instagram.
Okay.
Same for TikTok. Facebook is
Okay.
whatever it is,
All
but
right.
just type my name in, you'll find it.
I know you've been real busy and you used to post a lot of TikTok, but you're getting back in that. So now we're gonna wrap up with the slightly morbid segment of our shows, and I say that in a flip way because I know you're a young guy and you've got a lot ahead of you. How do you want to be remembered, man?
I want to be remembered as a good man who did right by his friends, family, and community. That was, you know, supportive because, you know, getting back to what brought me here, in addition to all the things that I've tried to do to sculpt my life and my daily habits and my artistry, would not have gotten here without the help of my friends and family and community. You know, great music community in Phoenix. I think it's very underrated. I think it's going to put a lot of people on the map.
Well, I'll tell you, I find that answer from you genuine, and I know you got a heart for paying it forward. And so I see you doing that, and I look before me and I see a genuine young man who's passionate about what he's doing and eager to share it. And you are, and it's going in that direction. I want to thank you for coming back into the yard with us, man.
Thank you so much, Darryl.
Okay, stay in touch with Joey, Gutos.com. Reach out to him, let him know that you're there and you're watching him, and you give him some love. And this is a guy on the move, so proud to have you here, man.
It's been an honor.
Yeah.
Seriously, thank you.
From all of us here at the yard, man, thank you.
Cheers.